Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Lovely to be here, as always. And the team is back together, so we should give you as much content as we can. Not saying it's necessarily all going to be golden stuff, but it's going to be pretty good. As always, keen to get your opinions on a lot of the things that we're talking about. I'll give you the contact details in a bit. Some of the stories we're talking about this morning include, as you heard in the news there, a man whose son was murdered in Hertfordshire has made a new appeal to find his body. We hear from the father of Murray Tony Thompson, later on in the show. Train fares across the UK are set for a rise today. Well, that's nice, and Happy New Year! Oh, lovely! Our reporter, Jane Killick, will be speaking to commuters in Bedfordshire. And a survey of teachers says over half rate their morale as low or very low. We speak to a member of the NUT in Hertfordshire to find out exactly why this is. If you've got an opinion on any of these stories, then lots of ways to get in touch. You can, of course, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/BBC3CR. Always good to go there and have a little Barney. Nice to have a little argument. Play nicely, don't be rude, but you just got to argue with some of the listeners. You can see why I enjoy it so much. You can also send us a text. 81333, start your text 3CR, and the best way to get in touch is to give us a call. And at the start of the show, look, all of the lines are free. So book your space now. 08459 455 555. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A couple of other things. We may also talk. We may do astrology today. If you heard yesterday's show, it was my rant. The Daily Express continue to milk this stone of nonsense. Again, that sentence makes no sense. But astrology, I don't get it. We're going to try and get Russell Grant on the show today. If we can't get him today, we'll try and get him for tomorrow. But if anybody can phone in and defend astrology, makes no sense whatsoever. It's nonsense. 08459 455 555. And when do you start to feel old? This is particularly pertinent with me. I turn 40 this year. Yeah, I know. Don't laugh. What are you laughing for? Why is that funny? The young lady next door who's barely seen the dark side of 20. Yes, I turned 40. And there's also a story in the Telegraph today about life beginning at 40, but we feel old by 59. Let me tell you, I feel old now. When do you start to feel old? 08459 455 555. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Now, a man whose only child was murdered in Hertfordshire has made a new appeal to find the body of his son. Police searching for 34-year-old Murray Thompson found the flat he'd last visited had been used for growing cannabis. One man is currently serving a 21-year sentence for his murder. Murray's father, Tony, has offered a £5,000 reward for information leading to the discovery of his body. Our reporter Victoria Cook went to meet him.
It came just as a complete bolt out of the blue. You know, we were just on holiday when we had a phone call to say he was missing, and then we came back and everything took off from there, really. And it soon became obvious that, you know, it was a bit more sinister than he was just missing. So it really, the whole life was turned upside down in an instant, really.
And then, obviously, the investigation began, and we went from there into a trial, and we had someone convicted of his murder, and there were other people there at the trial. But the main thing that came out of the trial was that nobody found Murray. And this is really why we're talking today, isn't it?
Well, yes. Although convictions were successfully obtained, still no idea where Murray is or what happened to him, really.
And it was during that last trial that the judge said that actually if James Evans, who's been convicted of his murder, had said where Murray is, actually he could have been given a more lenient sentence. But even then, the information wasn't forthcoming, and he didn't tell you where Murray is. Well,
that's right. He was certainly offered an opportunity to help himself by saying where Murray was, and pretty obvious he knows, and he's not the only one that knows. But for whatever reason, they still chose to keep silent about it, which has been the most difficult thing for, obviously, myself and Murray's mother. Coming up, it'll be 3 years soon, and we've had no funeral. We've got no idea exactly what happened to him at the time, which we really need to know. it's just very difficult, and until such times as we can put him to rest properly, what shall we say, the thought process is wild. It's all speculation.
I know you said he was in his 30s, and so he was a man, he wasn't a child, but I suppose as his dad, that doesn't really make any difference, does it? It doesn't matter what age they're at, they're still your child, aren't they?
Oh, yes. Well, he was my only child, and, you know, we were quite close. We were very alike in many ways, everybody said, you know, even appearance and manner. He had a lot of qualities that I was very pleased he had, and everybody liked him, and that came across throughout the trials.
Now, during the trial, I understand that you learnt about some parts of Murray's life that you didn't know about before, which was in particular his association with this cannabis farm. How did that feel when you learnt about that?
Well, obviously it was quite a shock. I had no idea whatsoever. There was no signs from what he told us. He was working in spare time renovating flats, and I'd ask him what he was doing, and that's what he'd tell me, and I had no reason to suspect he was any way involved in any crime whatsoever. I
know you want to get more information about what's happened to Murray, any sorts of information at all, and to try and get some of that information for people listening to this, what can you tell them about what Murray was up to? Whereabouts was this cannabis farm, and whereabouts did he live? Where were his friends? What sort of local area do you think people may know more?
Well, he'd been living in St Albans for a number of years, a sort of ring of friends in everywhere he lived, Hemel Hempstead and obviously Kings Langley, where he was born and brought up. They're probably the three main areas, and Watford, some association in Watford, which is where the premises were. It turns out that he had some association with. This wasn't just a small little operation. There was several people involved, and maybe some of them are still walking about and carrying on their business.
Later on, we'll be speaking to Hertfordshire Police to find out how the investigation into finding Murray is going. So, yeah, I turned 40 this year. No, I know. And Blondie still sounds like a fresh young band to me. That's how old I am. That's how... I've been practising, kind of getting in the mood. The last 18 months or so, or year, I've been saying, I'm nearly 40. I'm nearly 40. So it's not such a shock to the system. But I'll be honest, 2013 holds very little that excitement. But we're moving house. My boys are 3 and 1 in January. That's great, fantastic. After January, it's all downhill. I become an old man. And Richard, who's producing the show today, said, are you going to have a party? And I don't like birthday parties. I never celebrate birthdays and never do it at all. But this year, I have said to my wife, I want her to throw me a surprise birthday party. I want it to be one of those parties where I walk into a room and it's dark and the lights go on and all my friends are there going, surprise! And I'm like, oh, you guys! Who? Did you sort... Oh, God! Come on! I want that to happen. And I've been saying this to her for the last 6 months. And I want it to be fancy dress. I hate fancy dress as well. I hate it. But I want a fancy dress surprise party with a live band, right? And if she doesn't do this, I'm going to be so angry and so disappointed. Could be single by the end of the year. There we go. Very exciting indeed. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. When do you think you get old? When do you start feeling old? I'm a little bit nervous. 2013, I turned 40. Oh dear. Did you get some good books over Christmas? I got the Pete Townsend autobiography. Oh, it's a cracking read. I haven't got to that bit yet. So I'm looking forward to getting to that bit. It's a cracking read, though. He's kind of quite an rock and roll star. He's talking about how he's travelling the world and doing lots of drugs and alcohol and booze and things like that, which are very naughty, but that's what we expect our rock stars to do. And then he goes to see Cats, and he says, yeah, and that Bonnie Langford was giving me the eye. Well, it's Bonnie Langford! You're Pete Townsend from The Who. She's Bonnie Langford from Just William. For goodness sake, it's a brilliant read, though. I've got that, and I've got the Neil Young autobiography as well. I'm an old head at heart. I don't mind. Looking forward to that. And so, anyway, sorry, just going off on a slight tangent there, just celebrating the magic. My little treat. I'm so nearly 40. I'm saying this stuff and thinking, yeah, I am an old man. My little treat at the moment is going to bed a bit early. I was in bed at 10 to 8 last night and reading 2 chapters from the Pete Townsend book. And that's all. Because I could read it all in one go, but I don't want to finish it too quickly. So 2 chapters... Have a little look at what the next chapter's about, then close it. That's my little treat. Now, here's some good news. Train fares across the UK are set for a rise today, especially off-peak prices. Isn't that wonderful? Yep, it's the 10th consecutive year of above-inflation fare increases. The average season ticket goes up by 4.2%, and some tickets will rise by more than double that amount. Campaigners and unions say the government is pricing ordinary people off the railway. So how difficult is it becoming to afford your train fare? Our reporter Serena Farrow asked commuters at Milton Keynes train station what they think.
I mean, obviously, when you're seeing ticket price increases by 10, 15%, it does make it very difficult. And if this is going to be the second one this year, that's another 30%. That's an incredible increase. Trains are still more affordable than using the car at the moment. So whilst that status quo is maintained, then I shall probably start using the trains more often.
Not so difficult for me because my company pays for my business travel, but for your average man on the street, it's going to be difficult, along with everything else that's going up at the same time.
I have the young person's rail cards, but even with the 30% discount on prices, I still feel it's quite a lot. I drive as well, I have a car, but I do find sometimes taking a car is actually more worthy than taking a train because of the prices. I say if I wanted to drive to Wales, a ticket to take my parents, single for them, would be about £40, £50. Myself could be about £30. So I could take everyone in a car on £30 of fuel, get there one way, you know. But I do think that they need to be more efficiency in prices.
I think they're too expensive as it is, so going up more is even worse.
Yeah, probably the same. I tried to buy a ticket the other day and it was £150 without a rail card. Would have been ludicrous otherwise, so...
I tend to book in way in advance now, so you get better prepared to make sure it doesn't get you. Like, I've just come from Birmingham, it's only cost me £7. But if I'd have bought it today, I hate to think what it would have cost me.
It's not too bad, it's just I don't think it's worth the actual money. Trains are full, standing room, there's never enough seats, but it's just uncomfortable. For the money you pay, the service is not quite good enough.
Well, joining me now is Martin Howard, Secretary of Saunderton Rail Users Group. Morning, Martin.
Good morning, Ian. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you very much. These fare increases, are they justified, do you think?
Not really, no.
Thanks very much for coming on. Why not?
Well, I think the problem is that quite simply people are being priced out of the railway. I mean, we do have a bit of an unusual situation around where we are because we've actually persuaded our local rail company not to put our prices up.
Well, hang on a second, that is unusual. How on earth have you done that?
Because the trains are getting worse, not better.
Right.
So basically last week they agreed at Princess Risborough and at Saunderton that our season ticket prices wouldn't go up.
And how did you make that happen? Did you all did you get a petition? Did you all turn up en masse?
Yeah, there's a local rail action group has been set up. We've got the rail user group here, and last week, Chiltern Railways just agreed that they wouldn't be putting the prices up.
And because they acknowledged that their service was so poor?
The service has not improved as much as they would have wanted it to, but there are some places on this line where the fares are going up by over 9%.
Wow. Do you think other commuters, if they wanted to take the action that you've done and do that, would they be able to? Would the train companies listen?
I'm not sure that it would happen everywhere, simply because they've got to get the money from somewhere. That's the real truth of the matter. There is only so much money to go around, and it's difficult.
And there are people who would argue, and we've had people on this show in the past arguing about these fares, saying, well, you know, the money has to come from somewhere, as you've said. There are increased fuel prices, the more costs. That they have to go up, don't they?
I think they do, in reality, and it's getting a balance. I think part of the problem is that the way that they set the prices is just so complicated that people don't understand what is going on.
With your price freeze that you've managed to get, and is that for the year?
Yeah, season ticket prices for this station and at Princess Risborough are not going up today.
Do you think that means that possibly other fares are going up slightly more to cover your freeze?
Well, not as a direct result of it, because it's just a massive, big, complicated formula that they use. But over the last 2 or 3 weeks, certainly Chiltern Railways have dropped a number of they're putting price rises up less than they were going to. Let's put it like that.
So what's wrong with your service? What are you so unhappy about with your service, Martin?
From the beginning of December, they broadly halved the number of peak hour trains from our station. That's not good. If I want to get to work to London, I live 33 miles from London. I've got a train at 3 minutes to 6. I've got one just after 7, and that's it until if I want to get to work before 9 o'clock. And
could you always get seats on there?
Yeah, there's plenty of seats nowadays, but that's part of the problem. Is that you've got seats, but on slow trains.
if the service was improved, would you be happy to pay more money?
I would have been quite happy to pocket the same fare rise as other people if we'd got a decent service.
And have your train companies said they're going to improve the service at all, or...?
No, that's why they've frozen the prices, because there's no prospect of it happening.
OK. Martin, listen, thank you very much indeed. Martin Howard, Secretary of Saunderton Rail Users Group. Unique, I suggest, in that the train fares haven't gone up, they've frozen. A lot of them got together, went to the train company, said, your train service sucks. I said, sucks. And they went, yeah, actually, you're right, fair play, we won't put the prices up. I can't imagine that happening anywhere else. 08459 455 555. Have you bought a new season ticket? Have you gone into work today or used the trains and been shocked by the price increase? Do give us a call, 08459 455 555. You might be one of those people, and we have had some calling in going, well, do you know what, actually? I think that the trains are quite fair. I don't mind paying a bit more. That's how these things work. It's inflation. We have to do it. Do give us a call.
Call 08459 455 555.
08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, life begins at 40. Apparently, I'm not convinced by that. I think once you're 37 and over, you're past it. I think the best days are behind you. Certainly are for me. Well, the focus changes in anyway. I'm 40 this year. And there's a story in the Daily Telegraph today that says I might only have about 19 years, the best years of my life ahead of me. A survey by the Department of Work and Pension says we think old age starts at 59. Government researchers who interviewed over 2,000 people found that on average the moment when we believe we reached old age is precisely 59 years, 2 months and 2 weeks. On average, women think old age starts at 60 years, 4 months. Men think it starts at 58. Under 50 said old age begins staggeringly early at just 46. Oh, my God. It's all downhill from me. OK. When does old age start? That's the question. When do you get old? 08459 455 555. I know we have a lot of slightly older listeners, shall we say. Heritage listeners. It's a good phrase. When did old age start for you? Or maybe it hasn't. 08459 08459, can you hear me? 455 555. When does old age start? And any tips for turning 40 with grace, please? 08459 455 555. Got a couple of lines free, so now's an excellent time to give us a call. It's nearly 6:30. Let's get the latest news and sport with Catherine Boyle. Remember her?
That's your latest news and sport. More from me at 7 o'clock. What's the matter?
Huh?
Are you all right?
Yeah. Are you all right?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Did you have a good Christmas and New Year?
I had a lovely Christmas and New Year.
Excellent. Did you miss me?
Yes. Is that the answer you wanted?
Without being sarcastic and a bit more convincing?
Yes.
Good.
Very much.
We'll try again in an hour, OK? Thank
I'll
you.
practice.
Thank you.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Lots coming up in the show this morning, including teacher morale is at an all-time low, rail increases, and when do you get old? When do you get old? 08459 455 555. Now, the National Union of Teachers claims that there is a crisis of morale in their profession at the moment. Over half of the 800 teachers surveyed rated their morale as low or very low. Well, Frank Brainey is the Divisional Secretary for the NUT in Hertfordshire. Morning, Frank.
Good morning.
Why is teacher morale seemingly so low?
Because teachers seem to be the chosen ones for any sort of new initiative that demeans your working conditions.
But a lot of people could say that, though, couldn't they? Doctors could say that, and nurses could say that, and everybody could say that at the moment, couldn't they?
Yeah, but I think with teachers it's more extreme, because everyone went to school, so they all feel like experts and have an opinion on how education should go.
But we should have opinions on how education should go, shouldn't we?
We should, but it should be based on training and experience.
Well, not necessarily. As a parent, I have no training or experience, but I feel I have a good idea of what I want from teachers and from schools.
Yeah, but I think you also have a good idea of you've been with your children for a long time and you picked up an awful lot of experience by bringing them up.
Are we seeing a decline in the number of people applying to be teachers at the moment?
No, because of unemployment, there's still plenty coming in. They just don't stay very long when they get there.
How long do they stay?
About 50% have left within 2 years.
Wow. And why is that specifically? You say it's because of the way the government are treating them. What specific reasons are people giving for leaving so quickly?
Right, well, the whole barrage. I mean, one is unreasonable expectations. Second one is ridiculous working hours. Third one is no career development because people are being frozen whereas they used to progress. So a lot, and then the pension's being taken, and we've been in a pay freeze for quite a while.
But Frank, again, that's happening to everybody. That's not just teachers, is it?
Well, if you see everyone suffering, you do something about it. You don't just say, well, it's okay, let's just carry on because everyone else is suffering. So we don't all come down to the lowest point.
Well, what are you doing about it then?
Right, well, we've been marching in London, we've been sort of writing to MPs, we've been recruiting, we've been trying to join with other unions so as a collective action, and people can actually start respecting different careers and valuing them rather than things that seem not to serve society. Things that serve society should be looked after and developed.
To be honest, Frank, you still got people leaving after a couple of years. If they haven't got what it takes to withstand more than 2 years, good riddance to them, surely.
Well, fair enough. I mean, if they're not up to it, but the selection processes are quite good now. But the problem is the expectations for what you're going to achieve with the children is ridiculous because they make it so that it's impossible. Every child should make good progress. Every child should get a good education, but there are limits. And I think ignoring those limits and pretending we can ever increase is not reality.
How much do teachers earn?
A young teacher coming in probably on about 25,000.
And what could that go up to?
If you're a head teacher, you might be write your own wage if you're in an academy.
Really?
Well, basically, so long as the governing body and the chair of the academy board agree it, then that's fine.
Because you don't need to be a proper teacher in an academy, do you? Anyone can go in and have a go.
Well, basically, in free schools, the only person who's got to be a qualified teacher is the special needs teacher. Not even the head teacher needs to be a qualified teacher. But that's in free schools.
And what about in free schools? How much can a head teacher earn?
Again, there's no limit. It's basically whatever the board of trustees of the free school wish to pay.
That's something to aim towards, isn't it?
Well, not everyone can be a head. Most people, an awful lot of people are like support assistants and things doing the work of teachers, and then the money's not paid to professionals. And then it's only a matter of time before you buy things off the internet rather than preparing your lessons and teaching to suit the needs of individual children.
How is this going to affect the kids?
Right, well, deterioration in the quality of teaching, because if you don't get people that stay put and gain experience, then what you constantly get is a massive turnover of keen enthusiasts who haven't got the built-up skills that take years to achieve.
Well, then surely, Frank, you say that the screening process is very rigid, but obviously it isn't. If people are lasting 2 years, and they're, as you say, keen enthusiasts, and they're kind of coming and going, then there must be something wrong with the screening process.
Well, I would say the people they select are actually very good, but they
haven't got the staying power.
They can't stay for that amount of time because it's unrealistic and it's unsustainable.
Well, but then that should be explained to them at the very, very start, shouldn't it?
Well, we're even in a position now where with our local authority cuts, instead of having large numbers of people to support, there's now 1 or 2 for the whole county. So when they do get into difficulties, support is through the unions more than through the county.
Listen, Frank, I'm a big fan of excellent teachers, and I remember a handful of excellent teachers who were inspirational, who were creative in the way they taught their respective subjects, and they were wonderful. I remember a handful. I remember far more teachers that were rubbish.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think what you've got to look at is, in the past, education was very different. Now I would say the standard of education is incredible, but it's not valued, whereas in the past a good teacher was valued tremendously.
Are there going to be strikes, Frank?
Yes, there will, because basically people have been pushed into a corner. Their job career, their pensions have been taken and reduced, and the whole life has been made much more unpleasant and unsustainable.
When do you think we could start seeing these strikes?
In the spring, probably March, January, March, April time. It'll kick off in a big way, and then it'll escalate.
And what would you say to those parents who are sat at home going, "Oh, for goodness, what am I going to do with the kids?"
Well, I think you need to get a political group in that will actually value education and value children's careers and jobs.
Frank, thank you very much indeed. That's Frank Brainey, the Divisional Secretary for the NUT in Hertfordshire, talking about the survey that says morale amongst teachers is dangerously low. Are you a teacher? Is your morale dangerously low? Could you give us a call? 08459 455 555. Teachers are important. They're responsible for your kids and their education, obviously, and to a certain extent, their upbringing. Do we value them enough? Do you think that Frank is right there? That teachers should be respected more and paid more and their pension should be more? Or do you think, oh, for goodness sakes, not again? Listen, we've all got to put up with it at the moment. Everyone's suffering, everyone's struggling. Get over yourselves. I had some great teachers at school, but a handful. 3? I can think of 3. There were dozens that were, sort of... they were all right, they were adequate. And there were quite a few that were rubbish. They were absolutely rubbish. And to be honest, if there are people that are coming into the teaching profession and only lasting 2 years because they can't handle it, well, good riddance to them. We don't particularly want them. We want the good ones. We want the ones with staying power. We want the ones that see it not as a job, as a career, as a vocation, as a way of life. That's what we want. I nearly became a teacher. I know. About 4 or 5 years ago, I can't remember. And I went and had the meetings. I was in primary school, not teenagers. Are you joking? I remember what I was like as a 15-year-old boy. I was a right little so-and-so. Primary school. I went and had the meetings, went to a talk about it. They were particularly keen to get men to be primary school teachers. They don't have any male primary school teachers, hardly any. So I went to this meeting and I got in touch with a tiny little primary school and spoke to the headmaster, who was very enthusiastic about me going in and spending a couple of days there, and I was yay close to doing it. And then I got, we found out my wife was pregnant, and I got offered some more work, and I thought, you know what, taking the pay cut, for it would have been a pay cut, with a child on the way, is perhaps not the most sensible idea. Will still happen. It will happen one day when this gravy train comes off its biscuit wheels. Oh, boy. I'll do it. Of course I will. But I'm going to milk this bad boy for as long as I can. 08459 455 555. Coming up before 7, we're speaking to someone who I think is officially old. I hope she won't think that's too rude. When do you become old? 08459 455 555. Someone who'll never age. Yeah. Sophie Tyler with the travel. Big up yourself, Sophie. No idea why I said that. I do apologise. Hey, good news, kids. Rail fare prices go up. Yay! Today! Train fares across the 3 counties are set for a rise today, especially off-peak prices. It's the 10th consecutive year of above-inflation fare increases. What are you doing to celebrate? Not getting the train, probably. Well, our reporter, Jane Killick, is on her way to Luton train station this morning. Morning, Jane.
Good morning.
Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I am adjacent to the car park where commuters will park to take their train into London this morning.
Excellent. Quite a mild morning, Jane, as well.
Well, it is. I've got my jumper and my coat, and neither of them are done up at the moment.
Ooh, saucy. Is it looking particularly busy at the moment? Are people starting to arrive?
I have to say, the lull after the new year appears to be continuing.
Wow.
It is jolly quiet.
Wait, hang on a minute. It's the 2nd of January. Its normal service is resumed, surely.
Oh, I don't know. Some of these people, they seem to have 3 weeks off over Christmas. But I'm sure it will pick up at 7 o'clock.
OK, well, can you remind us of the details of these increases?
Well, the average season ticket increase is 4.3%, which is obviously above the rate of inflation. For all tickets overall, not season tickets, that's 3.9%. But over the last 10 years, campaigners say that the increase has been, for some people, 50% over the last decade. Figures from the Campaign for Better Transport say the average season ticket has gone up by £1,300. That's 20% faster than wages have gone up. In real terms, that is the equivalent of £360. However, if you travel from Stevenage into London, then over the last 10 years, the price has gone up by 30%, which is £772, which is actually less than the rise in inflation.
Jane, so just tell us exactly where you are again, so if people want to come and find you and say hello and give you their gripes, they can do.
Oh, gosh. You know the car park behind the railway station?
Yeah.
I can't get in there with my radio car.
Oh, is it too
I'm
big?
on a little road, little side road.
Lovely.
Next to that.
Okay, so but we're sending people your way, Jane, and maybe someone will bring you. If someone brings you a cup of coffee or a sandwich, don't eat it or drink it.
Oh, okay.
That's my top tip. Never eat food or drink drinks from the listeners. Bad experience once. So there you go. What do you make of that? Are you upset and shocked by these rail fare increases? Well, you're kind of thinking, well, do you know what, actually, if we can get someone to call in and say, well, actually, I don't think it's such a bad thing. It has to happen. 08459 455 555. Now, this year, 2013... the first month is very important. My boys turned 3 and 1, and we move house, hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood. I also turned 40 in June. I know, and it hadn't really hit me until this morning, because I saw a story in the Telegraph. Life begins at 40, but we feel old by 59. Government researchers interviewed over 2,000 people, found that we believe we've reached old age at 59 years and 2 months. Really? When do you turn old? 08459 455 555. Doris is in Stevenage. Morning, Doris.
Good morning.
Now, when did you turn old?
Well, I'm still turning old.
I beg your pardon?
I'm still turning old.
May I ask, what age are you?
I should be 91 in April.
Well, congratulations you for making it this long. Well done. And what are you doing at the moment, Doris?
Sitting down having a cup of tea and waiting to get my porridge done.
You're waiting to get your what done? Your pies?
Porridge.
Oh, your porridge. I thought you said your pies. I thought, blimey, there we go.
No, pies.
So, do you not... Doris, with all due respect, do you not feel that you turned old about, 50 years ago?
Well, I do, yes. Well, I don't say 50 years ago, but I mean...
45?
12 months ago, I was in hospital in intensive care.
Oh, blimey.
I had a fall and smashed my leg.
Oh, Doris!
But I'm going on now. I've had all my exercises. I do them every morning.
Exercises every morning?
Yes.
I barely do them every year. What have you done this morning? Push-ups, weightlifting?
Well, are you sitting down?
Yes.
One leg forward and the other leg back.
Ooh.
Toe and heel.
Yeah.
And then punch your arms forward and backwards.
So you're doing karate?
Yeah.
Bloomin' heck.
Well, I don't say it's karate, but
More
it
kung
does
fu.
keep me going.
I bet it
I went to a rehab hospital and they got me
Good for
exercising
you.
every day.
So, Doris, you're saying you're going to be 91 and you don't feel you're old?
Well, no, not really.
Any tips for me turning 40, Doris?
40?
Yeah. Do you remember that?
I worked hard.
Yeah. Oh, I don't like that advice. Any other tips? That I'm worried that when I turn 40, that's it. Everything's going to drop off and I'm going to be useless.
No, you mustn't feel like that.
Are you sure?
No, you need to keep exercising.
Doris, listen.
Heel, toe, and punch your arms forward and back.
I will do that,
And
Doris.
Up and down.
Yes. Thank you so much for calling. Have a lovely day.
Happy New Year to everybody.
And you too, my dear. Enjoy your porridge. 08459 455 555. When do you start to feel old? Sophie?
Yes.
When do you think you turn old? I know you're still a sprightly young thing, but when do you think you turn old?
Not till about 65 or so, I'd say.
You've offended most of our listeners. Thank you, Sophie. Okay, so Sophie thinks 65. I'm thinking 40. We had a caller then who's going to be 91 this year, doesn't think she's old yet. When do you turn old? We'll discuss more after the latest news and sport with Catherine Boyle. She's old. So, Catherine.
Yes.
When did you turn old?
When pop stars started being a lot younger than me.
So, in the late 70s?
I was only born in the late 70s.
Yeah, that's what you say.
Showbiz.
Born in the late 70s. Morning, dear listener. This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. We're back to normal service. It's the 2nd day of January, 2013. Lots going on. We'll be talking astrology later on. Yes, I know. It really does get my goat. How can people believe that planets and stars affect our health? I'll read you my health for 2013 from the Daily Express later on. It's ridiculous. You can give us a call later on and talk about that. I'll give you the contact details in a bit. Other things that we are discussing this morning. Some light, some not quite so light, including a man whose son was murdered in Hertfordshire has made a new appeal to find his body. We'll speak to Kate Whaley from the Hertfordshire-based organisation Mothers Against Murder and Aggression. 1 in 10 young people feel they cannot cope with day-to-day life, according to a new report from the Prince's Trust. We hear from John Archer, the chief executive of LAMP, a Luton-based youth charity. And when do you think you turn old? Doris called up. She was 91. And she says she's still turning old. I'm turning 40 this year. I think that once you get to 40, that's it. You're past it. And Sophie on Travel thinks you turn old at 65. What about you? 08459 455 555. You can send us a text as well, 81333, starting your text 3CR. Or go to the Facebook page. And it's good. You can go there and you can kind of have an argument with other listeners who disagree about things. It's good fun. It's good fun for me to read it, and I'm sure it's very cathartic for you too. Play nice, don't be rude, but do have a proper Barney. Facebook.com/BBC 3CR.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A man whose only child was murdered in Hertfordshire has made a new appeal to find the body of his son. Police searching for 34-year-old Murray Thompson found the flat he'd last visited had been used for growing cannabis. One man is currently serving a 21-year sentence for his murder. Murray's father, Tony, has offered a £5,000 reward for information leading to his discovery.
It'll be 3 years soon, and we've had no funeral. We've got no idea exactly what happened to him at the time, which we really need to know. It's just very difficult, and until such times as we can put him to rest properly, as we say, the thought process is wild. It's all speculation. Please, for our sakes, the family, his friends, we just want to know what happened to him, where he is, and so we can finally say goodbye to him in a proper way. There's just no conclusion to anything. You know, we just want someone to come forward and say what they know.
Well, Kate Whaley is from the Hertfordshire-based organisation Mothers Against Murder and Aggression. Morning, Kate.
Morning, Iain.
You deal with families who are forced to cope with tragedies like this. I imagine that's hard. Well, of course, it's hard in itself. It must be even harder when the body of the victim hasn't been found.
It is. I mean, you know, to lose somebody to a violent death, such as homicide, is traumatic in itself for anybody. If you put on top of that a failure to find or receive back the remains of your loved one, you're adding a further trauma on top of what is already an incredibly difficult trauma to cope with anyway.
I think I can probably guess the answer to this, but how did you get involved with this organisation, Kate?
My family were actually affected by homicide, and I became involved with the organisation shortly after that.
And do you find it helpful for yourself to be helping others?
Yes, I suppose it is. It's helpful for me to do it, but I think because you've had the experience, and because you understand exactly how it feels, it's a lot easier to help other people.
And what help do you give to other people who come to you, Kate?
Anything. I mean, it's practical, emotional. There are families who face issues with housing or benefit systems, or perhaps health issues, people that need counselling or therapy. We can access trauma therapies like CBT or EMDR for individuals that need that, for example. There are help with funeral arrangements. It can be absolutely assisting with any issue that you face as a direct result of the homicide.
And how do people come to you, Kate? Do they kind of find you in the yellow pages? Do their doctors refer them to you?
Multitude of ways. I mean, they can be referred, they can self-refer, which happens a lot, or they can be referred by their police family liaison officers, their probation victim liaison officers, doctors, sometimes school teachers, often mental health teams, or they just stumble across us online or through the yellow pages, as you just described.
It's interesting you mentioned the police and the liaison officers there, because I was going to ask, does the justice system do enough for victims' families?
In most cases, yes. Sometimes things don't work or don't go quite as smoothly as everybody would like them to. But I think, on the whole, the criminal justice system does as much as it can to help individuals bereaved by... I mean, when you're faced with somebody that's bereaved by homicide, you're a person, and you know that must be incredibly difficult for the person you're dealing with. And just humanely, you want to do the very best to help that person come to terms with the situation that they found themselves in.
And what are this is probably impossible to answer, but what are the kind of general feelings that that family members are having? Is it anger? Is it guilt? Is it remorse? What kind of things are they dealing with?
Most people that I think the Victims Commissioner, former Victims Commissioner Louise Casey, did some research, and over 80% of individuals who are bereaved by homicide suffer from some kind of mental health effect. Lots of those are PTSD. So a lot of people are diagnosed eventually with post-traumatic stress. The change in emotion and feeling when you're suffering from something like that is second by second, minute by minute. So 1 minute you can be angry, the next minute you can be very confused, the next minute you can be feel very guilty. Your emotions are all over the place. That there probably wouldn't be an emotion that somebody doesn't go through after they're bereaved by homicide.
Do you not find it too painful, Kate? Do you never think, oh, do you know what, I can't deal with this anymore?
No.
Really?
No. I mean, it's just, you know you're doing something for somebody that needs an incredible amount of help. You understand how much help they actually need because you've been there. And you know that there's not that much help out there. So you're doing something that you really believe needs to be done. And that in itself is good. I think it's a good feeling.
Kate, is there a website if people that want to have a little look at what you do?
A very nice, simple www.mama.org.
There we go, fantastic. Kate, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's Kate Whaley from the Hertfordshire-based organisation Mothers Against Murder and Aggression, and mama.org is the website if you want to go and have a look at that.
This is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
So, should we have a quick look at the front pages while we're here? Let's have a little look and see what's happening in the world. The Independent, the Eye. Hang on a minute, we've been sent the Eye. What's going on here? This is unconventional. 08459 455 555, by the way, is if you want to give us a call. The Eye. Fare hikes make rail travel an extravagance. Increases is what we've been talking about all morning, and if this has touched you, then do give us a call. Increases of up to 10% kick in today. Prices have risen 3 times faster than wages. England has most expensive rail travel in Europe. Hey, that's something to be proud of, isn't it? And there's a picture of a footballer. The footballer struck me because did you see who's that footballer? Name a footballer. Rio Ferdinand, that's the fella. Did you see the tweet he did on New Year's Eve? Spare a thought for me and the boys going to bed early while you're out celebrating. #love the game. And someone replied to him, yeah, spare a thought for everybody who's not earning £80,000 a week, you silly sausage. So out of touch with the real world. You spare a thought for us, got our head down. No, we're not celebrating New Year's Eve. You're getting 80 grand a week? I would go to sleep on New Year's Eve for 80 grand a week. The Guardian. Police watchdog. Hillsborough will be our greatest challenge. IPCC. Chief says inquiry, more testing than any previous high-profile cases. And look, there's a picture of idiots going for a swim on New Year's Day in Scotland, and they're idiots. Why would you do that? That ridiculous... Oh, I know what. It's New Year's Day. Let's go for a swim. In the river. Don't be so stupid. Look, they're freezing. Because it's freezing. It's New Year's Day, and it's in Scotland. It's going to be cold any time there. Ridiculous. I hate all that nonsense. The Times. Companies pay MPs in lobbying free-for-all. Oh, what a surprise. MPs and peers have received hundreds of thousands of pounds from arms manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies and foreign governments to sponsor parliamentary special interest groups. Anyone surprised by that? Anybody here surprised by that in the slightest? No, of course not. Let's have a look. All over the place. The Telegraph. £100,000 payoffs for council chiefs. Councils have given payoffs of £100,000 or more to 135 officials leaving their jobs in the past year. Ministers told local authorities to end the culture of eye-watering compensation packages of up to £420,000 for former bosses. An Afghan warlord. Prince is a jackal killing innocents. Prince? Oh, Prince Harry, I see. Second, I thought it was the pop scene. The Daily Express, millions will get pensions boost, surging share prices behind new windfall, and they're still carrying on this nonsense. Your stars for 2013. Free inside, astrologer Laurie Reed's guide to how you can improve your health this year. I'll read my health stars later on for 2013. It's ridiculous. A 9-year-old could have written it. And The Sun... Massacre guns on sale in the UK. School Slayer weapons are legal here.
Ripper Street continues Sunday at 9 on BBC One and BBC One HD.
That's a jolly little trail, isn't it? First thing in the morning. Ripper Street. Oh, Happy New Year. 7:15. How are the kids? Now, rail campaigners say they are holding protests at stations throughout the UK against the rising costs of rail travel and planned cuts to services and staff. They've been organised by the... oh, no, hang on, this is an old thing. What am I reading this for? This is an old line that I'm reading about. The line I should be reading about is about train fares are going up. They're continually going up, and they've gone up again today with some quite high... Let's look at one of the front pages of the newspapers, because it's on there. That's an old thing I'm reading there. Look. Fare hikes make rail travel an extravagance. This is the front of the Eye. Increases of up to 10% kick in today. Prices have risen 3 times faster than wages. And England has the most expensive rail travel in Europe. English travellers pay far more than the Welsh or the Scots. Well, joining us now is Murray Brown, editor of the Rail Express magazine. Morning, Murray. Murray, where are you? Are you there?
I'm here.
You're there, sorry, I had the wrong fader. The train fare's going up.
I've been faded.
You've been faded back on now, sir, so you're with us. Welcome. Train fare's continually going up and up and up. Why is that the case?
I think you can blame the government, because the decision has been made that the passenger has to pay 75% of the operating costs of the trains. Now, what happens is that this is why the fares go up above inflation. Now, the train operating companies were required to increase the price of control fares by 3% above the level of inflation. Now, this means that the average will be just 4.2% from this January. Now, what is interesting, though, is that the firms that supply London and the South East, for instance, our own First Capital Connect,
yes,
and Greater Anglia and, say, South Eastern, they are already meeting 80% of the costs of the train fare. Now, you can then ask, why on earth are the fares in this part of the country still going up? The answer is, dear listener, that it is to subsidise the rest of the country.
What? How is that fair?
The reason is that fares in the outlying districts up in the north, for instance Leeds and the northwest, are only 40% covering the costs of the train fare. Now, in Scotland, it's even worse because it's only 25%, a quarter of the cost of running the trains. So, in effect, we are subsidising the rest of the country. Now, at least the government last January decided that this was just too onerous and actually scaled it back to 1% above the retail price index. But it's not good for us in this part of the country.
So are we subsidising, like, Newcastle and Scotland?
Indeed. That is exactly the case. Now, you could then ask, why does it cost so much to run the railways? The government has indeed asked that very question and conducted a very extensive report by Mr McNulty. It's known as the McNulty Report.
Yeah.
And he's identified several billion that could be cut off the cost of running the railways. And in fact, the whole of the rail industry is now trying to do just this. There is a huge amount going on to try and see, can we bring the price down of running our railway system?
What can be done to bring the price down? What do we need to do then? Apart from changes that you've mentioned there about the government, what else can be done?
I think it's inefficiencies which will be eradicated, far more closer cooperation between Network Rail and the train companies. In fact, many of the train companies and Network Rail are forming joint offices so that they can work far more in harmony. You see, Network Rail looks after the infrastructure, the track, the signalling, level crossings, whereas the train companies actually run the actual trains we travel on.
I'm looking at a little comparison chart in the Eye this morning. I don't know how this necessarily works, but it's asking where does £100 get you in Europe, okay? And in England, it'll get you from Stafford to London, 133 miles. In Germany, Berlin to Munich, 312 miles. Italy, 100 quid will get you from Florence to Palermo, 736 miles.
But what you have to ask with those figures is how much is the government subsidising the railways? That is a very key figure when you're discussing train travel between our country and overseas.
Are people being priced out of travelling on the trains, do you think, Murray?
I think this is a danger because we're seeing more people use the railways than, nearly in 100 years. It's a colossal increase, which of course brings more difficulties to the train companies. And
we're supposed to be promoting as well. But we're being encouraged to use the car less.
We are indeed,
and it's because for environmental reasons or for whatever. But if the trains are so expensive, then we can't make that switch, can we?
That is correct. This is the reason why trains further up north of the country are so much, in effect, cheaper and not paying their true cost because of the policies to try and keep people out of their cars. It's the north-south divide, unfortunately. It's felt that people in our areas seem to be more affluent and therefore can subsidise the rest.
Is there anything that commuters can do? We spoke earlier on to a chap from the rail user group who'd managed to get the train company to go, yeah, fair play, our service isn't up to scratch, we'll freeze the prices on this bit of the line.
This does happen. The government does set stringent targets for these train operating companies in terms of facilities, punctuality, reliability, and rightly so, because if we're paying for a service and not getting it, there must be due reimbursement when things go wrong. But generally, a lot of the trains in the country are a far greater improvement than used to be. For instance, the average age of a train has come down dramatically since privatisation. British Rail was having to use trains which were nearly 50 years old. No wonder they had problems. But we have seen a remarkable improvement in the quality of train service.
Murray, listen, thank you very much indeed for coming on. That's Murray Brown, who is the editor of the Rail Express magazine. Well, how is it affecting you? Are you being put off? There always get people who say, well, listen, if you book your travel in advance, you can get from Luton to Manchester for £6.50. Yeah, you've got to book it about a year in advance. If you go and buy a train ticket today, it is really expensive. And if you've got a travel card, really expensive. 08459 455 555. Well, our reporter, Jane Killick, is at Luton train station. Jane, what's the latest over there? Oh, Jane, are you there? No, Jane, we've lost her. She's gone. She's disappeared. We'll try and get Jane back when we can. In the meantime, astrology. This is my bugbear, because it's a complete load of old guff. Complete load of old nonsense. The Daily Express, for the past week, and no doubt for the rest of this week, one of their big selling points, your stars for 2013. Free inside astrologer Laurie Reed's guide to how you can improve your health this year. So we go to her stars to find out how I can improve my health this year. I'm a Gemini, by the way. That's a June the 9th, 40. Hey. So listen to this, right? It could have been written by a 9-year-old about anyone. All those good intentions to get fit after... This woman's been paid for this, by the way. All those good intentions to get fit after Christmas will evaporate after a few weeks as your resolve melts. Well, that happens... Sorry, that happens to everybody, doesn't it? That's hardly surprising. She then qualifies it with, that's hardly surprising with Jupiter, the bon vivant of the zodiac, in your sign until June. There's a bon vivant of the zodiac? Really? Laurie Reed. There is an irresistible force that helps you pile on the inches. Yeah, it's called food. As you work out, play sport, run, jump or dig the garden as part of your exercise regime, pay extra attention to your muscles, knees, bones and joints, as all are vulnerable areas for this year. They're vulnerable for anybody who runs, jumps, does sport or does digging in the back garden. They're all vulnerable. it's doubly wise to visit the dentist regularly and to protect your skin when in the sun. Oh, come on, Laurie. Really? You're getting paid money for this? Changes are on your horizon, and from now on it's important to work smarter, to think healthier, and to get yourself in a regular, balanced routine. What a load of old guff. She then encourages me at the bottom. Find out more? Call Laurie Reed's Year Ahead Astrology line. Calls cost £1.50 a minute. No, I'm not going to do it. It's nonsense. It's utter nonsense. Do you believe in this guff? Really? 08459 455 555. Do you think I'm being a little bit too harsh? How is it possible that planets, like light years away, have any influence on what's going on in my life? Do give us a call. 08459 455 555. I think we can go back to Jane at Luton train station. Morning, Jane.
Good morning.
What's the latest there?
Well, I'm speaking to commuters this morning, and it's quite interesting. I've been speaking to a couple of people who've only just got new jobs. They've just been commuting into London for the last 6 months, which is great. And their attitude was kind of shrug the shoulders. I've got to pay this money to go into work. It's quite a lot of money off my salary, but, you know, I've got to go to work. But I also spoke to a man called George, who's been commuting for the last 30 years, and he says he's seen the price of going into London just go up and up and up over the last 30 years. He pays over £4,000 to get into London, and he says the service is getting worse as well, so he's paying more for what he sees as not a good service.
Are there people out there, Jane, do you think, that are reconsidering their work plans and their travel arrangements because of this increase?
You've got to work, haven't you? You've got to get into work. I mean, these couple of people who've been commuting into London for the last 6 months, they've got to go to work. They've got to earn some money, and it's really the only way to do it. I mean, if you're going to get a car, you've got to pay congestion charge, you've got to pay to park, price of petrol. So really, for a lot of these people, there is no alternative.
Jane, thank you very much. Jane Killick is going to be at Luton train station for the rest of the morning. Do go and say hello to her. And let her know what you think. You can also give us a call as well, 08459 455 555. Are you just having to suck it and see when it comes to these train fares? You kind of going, I've got no choice, really? Or is it pricing you out of your job? You think, if it goes up much more, there's no point in me going to this place. It won't be worth it. 08459 455 555. Right. Let's get the travel news with Sophie Tyler, and I'm going to enjoy a banana. It's not a euphemism.
And that's your latest news and sport. More from me at 8 o'clock.
Hey!
Yes.
So, did you have a good Christmas and New Year?
Yes.
Just because the last hour this didn't really work.
Oh, right, okay, we're doing this again, are we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Catherine, did you have a good Christmas and New Year?
I did, but I missed you terribly. Oh, yeah.
No, that's sarcastic.
Right, go on.
Wait for the question.
Yes, I did.
Oh, let me ask.
Do it again then.
Did you have a good Christmas and New Year?
Oh, thanks for asking. Yeah, I did, thanks.
And did you miss me?
Oh, I really missed you. Really, really badly. I was gazing at the door, hoping you might walk through at any moment. I was wondering what you were doing 24 hours of the day.
That's weird. When we do...
Well, what do you want?
We're going to do 8:30. Can you try and split the difference between the two? Is that all right?
Yeah, all right then.
Thanks very much.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning! Lots coming up between now and 8 o'clock, including when do you turn old? There's a report out that says that most of us would think we turn old at 59. I'm worried. I'm turning 40. I'm turning 40 this year. It's not something that fills me with great excitement. I think I'm old already. When do you think you turn old? An astrology? Really? In 2013? Are we going to buy into that nonsense? What, the planets are going to... No. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call about that. We've got some more serious bits and pieces as well, including this. 1 in 10 young people feel they cannot cope with day-to-day life, according to a new report from the Prince's Trust. The report, based on interviews with over 2,000 16 to 25-year-olds, also shows how more than 1 in 5 young people did not have someone to talk to about their problems while they were growing up. John Archer is the chief executive of LAMP, a Luton-based youth charity. Morning, John.
Good morning, Ian.
What is LAMP? Just explain that briefly.
Okay, very quickly. LAMP is a small charity, looks after 16 to 25-year-old homeless people in Luton.
Right. How does a 16-year-old end up being homeless.
Oh, how long have we got?
Well, as long as we need, because I find that incredible that could happen in this country in this day and age.
What the Prince's Trust is saying, I think, has a lot to do with it.
Right.
A lot of it is to do with family breakdown. The pressure that the economy's under right now, it just gets difficult for families to stay together. It's financial pressure, job pressure, all those sort of things come to bear. So a lot of the people that come to LAMP are coming from families that have such pressure that the children become the casualties of that.
Is there not... I might be really naive and stupid. Is there not provision for if a 16-year-old is homeless, is there not... Won't the government do something? Do they not? Am I being stupid?
No, you're not being stupid. No, there is something called a statutory duty of care.
Right.
So from 16 to 18, there's a great department at Luton Borough Council called 16 Plus that look after these kids.
Right.
But they're stretched, and so they avail themselves of LAMP services, because what we do is try and find private accommodation so the kids are safe in warm, safe houses, and then we work what we call a development plan, which allows a young person to grow, learn those life skills maybe they're missing, and get them back on track.
It's kind of a bleak start, isn't it, being 16, 17? Is there any hope?
Yes, there is hope.
Good.
Yeah, definitely. We have a little phrase in LAMP, sort of homeless but not without hope.
Right.
And it's about that, and LAMP gives them a hope. LAMP does do that. We train very hard. We work our kids as... mustn't call them kids.
Mustn't call them kids, I know exactly.
Hate me for that. But
they'll start calling you granddad.
Do that, yes. Thank you. How old are you?
I know.
Okay. So they come to us and they respond to some mentoring, some encouragement. We are incredibly non-judgmental. We take them where they are and we try and move them on, which is really what parents should be. I mean, we sometimes see ourselves as surrogate parents to some of these young people.
And do they respond to you? Or is it... Because I remember being 16, 17, I don't want to talk to anyone about it, well, I want to talk to you. Yeah. Is there that kind of attitude? Or are they willing to listen and talk to you and take on board your suggestions?
Some are, some aren't. It's a normal mix of kids. So some are, relatively hard-nosed and think they know the world. And you've got to break that down and build up a trust and a relationship with them and show them the path they could do, or the alternatives if they don't get their life together.
Now this report says that a lot of 1 in 5 young people didn't have someone to talk to about their problems. And I remember, I vaguely remember being 15, 16, 17, and you have the weight of the world on you. It's easy to forget that now, but you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, and you're changing, your body's changing, your mind is changing, you're not quite sure what you are or where you're going. And without someone to talk to, that's terrifying, isn't it?
That must be terrifying. You must be in an extremely lonely place. And if you put on top of that the fact that maybe you want someone to talk to, but maybe you've got parents who aren't really that interested in you, it just makes that even worse. It's bad enough, just as you say, being a teenager, sorting out what your body's doing to you, without the fact that maybe your parents aren't as caring as you'd like them to be, or not as understanding. But parents are never understanding to teenagers anyway.
No, of course not. You don't understand me!
No. But you get to that point. So the young people that come to us normally have that double whammy, that they're in an unstable family relationship, plus they've got no one to turn to. And that's tough.
17-year-old comes to you. What kind of suggestions are you giving them? What kind of advice and help are you giving them?
They come to us. First thing we do is we work out where they're going to live, because we don't want people walking around the streets. We don't want people prey to the nasty side of society.
And there are 16, 17-year-olds walking around.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I find that incredible.
Absolutely. There's a lot of what's called sofa surfing going on.
Right, yes, I've heard this phrase a lot recently.
Yeah, that's
so that's why they're sleeping at mates' houses for a couple of nights.
Sleeping at friends' families' houses, but that causes strain too.
Of course it does, yeah.
So you can do that for so long, but it's not a lifestyle. So we try and get them into an accommodation which is safe and secure, something we can manage with them. Do that. Take them through normally the benefit system, because that's where they are. So make sure they're getting the sort of support they can get from the state, even now. I know it's going down, but get what they can. Then we start talking to them about what are their aspirations? What do they want to do? This is where the young people love us, I guess, because we're actually listening to them, have a real and genuine interest in where they want to go, and try and ask them where they want to go, what do they want to do. From that, we can start to see where their gaps are. Have they maybe not done a CV ever? Have they ever washed behind their ears? Have they ever got ready for an interview? What skills are they missing? And then we try and find places to put that in place.
So it's proper practical stuff that you're giving them. It's not pie-in-the-sky nonsense.
No. The whole aim of what LAMP does is to make sure that people are equipped to be let loose on society and be able to hold their own in a really tough time in society on their own. Be individuals. So that's what we try and do. We build them up.
Do you kind of give them emotional support as well as the practical
Yeah, I scream at them all the time.
Good. Not allowed to hit them these days. I'm
Absolutely
joking. It's
not.
a joke, for goodness sakes. You can. No, you're not.
Yeah, they can come to us with anything, and they do.
Yeah.
So we're there as a listening ear, and we'll give them any support they need. And through that process of becoming their friends, but at a distance in terms of mentoring them too, try and understand where their problems are, and yes, give them that emotional support. Some of them have some real tough issues they've got to deal with.
If there's a parent listening who's worried about their child, who thinks maybe they're isolating, and it's obvious to the parent that they're going through something, but the young person doesn't want to talk about it, what advice would you give to that parent?
Okay, be genuine.
Yeah.
Give them time. I think a lot of parents just don't give their kids enough time. It's time, real time, not a half conversation over breakfast, but just a sit down, give them some time. Don't give them space, and don't isolate them in their bedroom with some electronic device. Get FaceTime with them, and if you can do that, I think you'll find a lot of it will go away.
Take TVs out of the bedrooms.
You could do that
TVs
too.
out of the bedrooms.
Leave the radios in there.
Leave the radios. If people are interested in LAMP or think it might be able to help a friend or someone they know, how can they get in touch?
Okay, you can call me, John Archer, on Luton 431744.
Yep.
You can email me on john@lamp.uk.net.
john@lamp.uk.net.
Or you can go onto our website, which is www.lamp.uk.net.
Is New Year, Christmas a busier time, or...?
Not really.
Good, okay.
No, it doesn't get worse or better. No,
it's just a constant
flow.
Well, listen, keep up the good work, John. Lovely to meet you. Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll talk again about at some point. John Archer, Chief Executive of LAMP, a Luton-based youth charity. Happy New Year.
And to you.
08459 455 555.
On FM, AM and online. BBC Three Counties Radio.
08459 455 555 is the telephone number. Now, when did you start to feel old? Years ago for me. I get out of breath walking up a flight of stairs. I do. Struggle. Well, a survey by the Department of Work and Pensions says that we think old age starts at 59. What do you reckon? Earlier, Doris in Stevenage gave me a call. Oh, no, she did. There, she gave me a call here.
I'm still turning old.
May I ask, what age are you?
I should be 91 in April.
Well, congratulations you for making it this long. Well done. Doris, with all due respect, do you not feel that you turned old about, 50 years ago?
Well, I do, yes. Well, I don't say 50 years ago, but
45?
12 months ago, I was in hospital in intensive care.
Oh, blimey.
I had a fall and smashed my leg.
Oh, Doris!
But I'm going on now. I've had all my exercises. I do them every morning.
Exercises every morning?
Yes.
I barely do them every year. What have you done this morning? Push-ups, weightlifting?
Well, are you sitting down?
Yes.
One leg forward and the other leg back.
Ooh.
Toe and heel.
Yeah.
And then punch your arms. Forward and backwards.
So you're doing karate?
Yeah.
Luminek indeed. She's doing karate. When did you start to feel old? I know we have some, what I like to call heritage listeners. Being polite. When did you start to feel old? Is there a moment you can look back and go, yeah, actually, 55, ooh, dear, something went. 08459 455 555. Or maybe you don't feel... Maybe you're like Doris, you're in your 90s, you don't feel old in the slightest. I'm going to be 40 this year. I feel old already. It's got to be downhill from now. I make this noise when I get up from the chair. Ooh. So I do it so much, right, that my little boy, who's going to be 3 in a couple of weeks, he makes that noise when he gets out of the chair. Because he's heard me do it. If he gets up from lying down, he goes... Ooh, he makes the old man noises because he's heard the old man doing it. When did you start to feel old? 08459 455 555. We'll explore the theme of approaching 40 later on in the year. We've got 6 months of that nonsense. We'll get to that a little bit later on. Today, let's just discuss, when did you start to feel old? 08459 08459, love, can you hear me? 455 555. You can send a text as well, 81333, starting your text 3CR, or you can go to the Facebook page. You can see a picture of me, freshly shaved. Yeah, the beard's gone. That went the day after I left here for Christmas. It was itchy and I looked like a tramp. The Express and their stars, they love it. Horoscopes. Mine, this year. As you work out, play sport, run, jump or dig the garden as part of your exercise regime, pay extra attention to your muscles, knees, bones and joints, as all are vulnerable areas for you this year. They're vulnerable for everyone! All those good intentions to get fit after Christmas will evaporate after a few weeks. It happens to everyone! The stars and horoscopes, it's a load of old nonsense, isn't it? Isn't it? Is there anybody listening to this in 2013 who believes? If you do give us a call. I'd love to find out why you do. And if it's predicted or told you something. 08459 455 555. Well, Adam Fronteras is an astrologer, and he's here to defend the horoscope. Good morning, Adam.
Morning.
Adam, it's a load of old nonsense. Come on.
No, I think what a lot of people don't really understand is what astrologers really do.
Go on.
Sun sign astrology, what you read in your newspaper, is really only a fraction. It's a tip of the surface. When astrologers actually do, if you like, proper astrology, they take your individual date, time, and place of birth, and then from that they work out, if you like, an individual star map of all the planets' positions at your time of birth. And it's from that we get, if you like, a sort of a DNA blueprint of the type of life that you're likely to lead.
But then why does the Express have a 2-page spread from this woman Laurie Reid that's so vague and...
Laurie, the problem is that this is a way to introduce people to astrology. Your sun sign represents about 10% of your personality, because astrologers take in all the other planets and all the other positions, and it's the angles. And just like we know that, for instance, radio waves are affected by the movements of the planets.
Yeah.
I mean, people will experience that even when they're sort of listening to radio on an old radio in the evening as compared to the morning. And we know there's scientific proof that Jupiter and Saturn positions can actually have an effect on radio waves. And radio, and our brain is a massive electronic impulse.
Our brain isn't a radio wave,
no,
Adam.
But we are a massive electronic impulses. Our brain connects by sort of little waves. And what it's thought of is when we're sort of developing, that our actual brain acts like a sort of a little bit of a radio wave, and the position of the planets connected to the time we were sort of born, if you like, can sort of set off influences.
But how is that connected to I was born June the 9th, about 7 o'clock in the evening, 1973. How is Saturn in any way affected to that? Connected to that? Jupiter, the bon vivant of the zodiac, according to Laurie Reid.
Oh, Jupiter is the biggest planet, so it brings growth and expansion. And if one looks at your time and place of birth, and it takes an astrologer sort of a good half hour to get your charts drawn up.
Because Jupiter's the biggest planet, it means expansion.
No, it means Jupiter is growth and expansion, and it's power and authority.
Why? Explain to me why Jupiter is authority and expansion and growth.
Because this is sort of observation, thousands of years of observation, that when Jupiter is in certain positions, just like Saturn is in certain positions, it sort of has a sort of an effect on us. The most common one that people will often hear is when Mercury is known to appear to go backwards in the zodiac. It's known as retrograde. Yeah. And you'll often hear people blaming sort of communication issues or letters going awry on Mercury being retrograde.
It does. Letters going awry because Mercury's on retrograde. There are people listening, Adam, who, with the greatest respect, saying, you're talking out Uranus, the planet.
Well, they can do that, but I would say to them, go and have your proper astrology chart drawn up, because that's the sort of the proof in the pudding. I mean, basically, horoscopes astrology in newspapers would be like sort of saying is the whole of medicine is sort of could be cured by a painkiller.
But medicine is based on science. It is science. This isn't science. This is guff.
There has been statistical work done. The Goclins famously in the early 70s and did loads of statistics and showed that, for instance, Olympian runners or Olympian, people that win golds in Olympics are far more likely to have Mars and an ascendant sign than by natural, than what you'd expect by random.
But they're far more likely to have won gold by training.
Yeah, but you see, Mars is typically was known as the planet of the warrior. So you think about that. So, but Mars being in the ascendant houses or the house of work or whatever, it's been shown to be more likely to happen in Olympic athletes than the normal general population.
And who conducted this research?
That was the Goclins in the 70s.
Who are the Goclins?
They were French statisticians.
Okay. All right.
But you will find that there are astrologers. Percy Seymour, who was recently the head of Plymouth University Astronomy, said there was something in astrology. Wasn't quite sure what.
There's a lot of money in it.
He'd found some influence that the planets had some influences, and he felt that that this could be where he was the one that put forward.
Adam,
could be where
we're running out of time. You defended it well, and you've taken it like a good sport. You'd agree, though, that the people that call these £1.50 prediction lines, they're suckers, aren't they?
No. If they call the £1.50 a line and get through to a proper astrology, they're not. £1.50.
£1.50 a minute? Come on, they're suckers, Adam.
No, because how much do you charge for your time?
Have you got a £1.50 a minute line, Adam? Is that what you're...
No, I don't. I don't.
You don't indulge?
I do work for some of the £1. The point is that you've got all the overheads and advertising, and I wouldn't say that a £1.50 for 20 minutes. Okay, that's £30. You're going to get charged at least
for 20 minutes.
Right, but you're going to get charged at least that by your garage when you put your car in for a service. And no doubt you charge that for when you go out and do a.
Let me tell you, Adam. I'll tell you now. £30 for 20 minutes is a lot more than I get paid at BBC Three Counties. Let me tell you that. Adam Fronteras, astrologer, you defended yourself well, sir. Thank you very much indeed. But it's a load of old Rolex, isn't it? I said Rolex. I can get away with that. 08459 455 555. Do you agree with Adam? Do you think it makes sense and you follow it? Or do you think it's a load of old tosh like myself? Now, normally the only cliff at Christmas that I like to indulge in is Cliff Richard. But this festive season there was an even bigger cliff, America's fiscal cliff. But this morning it seems the United States has avoided plunging over the precipice. And many analysts say that's good news for jobs and growth here in the UK. Well, our reporter James Alexander can bring us up to date. Morning, James. What's the latest and what's been agreed in Washington exactly?
Yeah, at the very last minute, the US has pulled back from the edge of that fiscal cliff and avoided this kind of double whammy of New Year tax hikes and spending cuts. There have been frantic negotiations on Capitol Hill all over the holidays. Finally, overnight, the House of Representatives voted to back a bill to increase taxes just for the very richest Americans, but more than $100 billion of spending cuts will be delayed for 2 months.
And what reaction has there been from President Obama?
Relief is the main reaction. This has been seen as a victory for President Obama. He campaigned for the very rich to pay more in tax, and this is what he's got. But he says future negotiations need to be a bit calmer.
The one thing that I think hopefully in the new year we'll focus on is seeing if we can put a package like this together with a little bit less drama, a little less brinksmanship, not scare the heck out of folks quite as much.
And the President is now off to Hawaii to resume his Christmas break with his family.
The crisis is over then, isn't it, surely? We can all celebrate and go and smoke cigars.
Yeah, the immediate crisis is over, but you might not want to sort of pop the champagne corks just yet. Critics say the really tough decisions about government spending have simply been put off. This doesn't even begin to address America's huge national debt, $16 trillion of it, and many of President Obama's opponents in the Republican Party want to see sweeping spending cutbacks, and many are really angry this morning, Ian, that this bill says nothing about cuts.
And what does this mean for us over in Britain? Is this good news as we start the new year?
Yeah, it's been seen as welcome news for the UK economy because many analysts were saying a failure to do a deal in Washington could have plunged America back into recession, and this would hit transatlantic trade because lots of companies across the three counties do business in the States, and they'd be hit if Americans have less money in their pockets. Also, there was a worry that deadlock in the world's biggest economy could damage investor confidence, but already this morning we're seeing the stock markets in Asia well up. They clearly like the deal. 2012 was a pretty torrid year in the global economy. 2013 begins on a brighter note for now.
James Alexander in Washington, thank you very much. No doubt we'll be hearing more about that. 08459 455 555. I would love to hear from someone who thinks... come on, Iain. Calm down. There is statistical evidence that shows astrology is almost a science. That Mars means that you will have work and Mercury means things will get bigger. I don't know. Really? 08459 455 555. Have you ever been to an astrologer, paid good hard cash, and had them do your chart for you, and gone back and gone, yeah, that was money, really well spent. I'm glad I did that. Look, I'm checking Facebook and Twitter. I forgot that last year I was knocking handball, saying it wasn't a sport, and I foolishly said to someone on Twitter, yeah, I'll come along to your handball sessions, I'll sort that out. And he's just got back in touch saying, you still up for it then? Oh, yes, yes I am. Evenings are tricky though. We'll discuss more after the latest news and sport with astrologer-loving Catherine Boyle.
BBC Three Counties Radio, first for news.
Catherine, you're a bit vague.
Yes.
An airy-fairy.
Am I?
Yeah, and you wear, like, cravats and things like that. So I'm guessing that you believe in astrology.
No, it's a load of nonsense.
Thanks very much. That's the definitive answer there from the Voice of News. Good morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 3 minutes past 8. Where are we now? Wednesday, is it? I think, yes, Wednesday the 2nd of January. I've completely lost track of dates, and I will do for the next few weeks, but don't worry. Lots coming up in the last hour. Some light, some not quite so light, and as always, would like your opinions on some of the stories that we're talking about, including a man whose only child was murdered in Hertfordshire has made a new appeal to find the body of his son. DI Jerome Kent from Hertfordshire Police was the senior investigating officer leading the team of detectives and specialists, and he'll be joining me in the studio. Rail campaigners say they are holding protests at stations throughout the UK against the rising costs of rail travel. Jane Killick has been at Luton train station this morning, and astrology? Really? Come on. It's a load of old nonsense, isn't it?
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, a man whose only child was murdered in Hertfordshire has made a new appeal to find the body of his son. Police searching for 34-year-old Murray Thompson found the flat he'd last visited had been used for growing cannabis. One man is currently serving a 21-year sentence for his murder. Murray's father, Tony Thompson, has offered a £5,000 reward for information leading to his discovery.
It'll be 3 years soon, and we've had no funeral. We've got no idea exactly what happened to him at the time, which we really need to know. It's just very difficult, and until such times as we can put him to rest properly. As we say, the thought process is wild. It's all speculation. Please, for our sakes, the family, his friends, we just want to know what happened to him, where he is, and so we can finally say goodbye to him in a proper way. There's just no conclusion to anything. You know, we just want someone to come forward and say what they know.
Well, DI Jerome Kent from Hertfordshire Police was the senior investigating officer leading the team of detectives and specialists. He joins me this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
I find this story incredible on so many levels. First of all, how difficult was it to try and get a murder conviction without having a body?
Well, I mean, it sounds obvious, doesn't it? But most murders... it is obvious that somebody's dead, and it's obvious that they have been murdered, because that's what you're faced with when you start your investigation. With this case, we had to establish that Murray was dead, and having done that, try and prove that he had been murdered and then try and establish who had done that. So
how do you do all of those things without? How do you establish that he's dead and that he was murdered without having the physical evidence, the body?
Yeah, what we did was we looked at Murray's life in the months leading up to his disappearance. So he disappeared on the 20th of April 2010, and up until that day he had a relatively routine pattern to his life. He made phone calls to his mum and dad, to his fiancée. He went to work every day, described as a model employee. He had friends that he saw. He had a set routine. He had a bank account that he went to. And on the afternoon of the 20th of April 2010, all of that stopped. No more calls, no more use of his bank, no more going to work. He was due to see a friend at 6 o'clock that evening. He didn't turn up for that meeting. And he was due to see his girlfriend, his fiancée, at their flat later on that evening. He never went back. He had bought her a ring only a few months beforehand and got engaged, and they were planning their engagement and wedding. And so he had a life ahead of him, and he was planning a life ahead of him.
How is the family, the mum and the dad and the fiancée, how are they coping with this? Because, I mean, listen, you lose someone in a murder, of course that's an awful, awful thing, but at least normally you have the body, you can bury it, you can pay your respects, you've got a site you can go to and remember. Without the body, as we were saying earlier, there's no conclusion, is there?
No closure. And again, Murray's parents, Mum Geraldine and Dad Tony, are lovely people. They're lovely, lovely people, been very supportive. His fiancée, Rachel McDowell, a very, very nice lady, very, very supportive. And it's taken them a long time to come to terms with the fact that their son is dead and that he has been murdered. And they want that final closure. They want somewhere where they can go, pay their respects, and have a focus for their grief. And that's not something we've been able to provide.
Have you received any useful information or any leads about where the body might be?
Not really, no. The judge in his sentencing remarks said that he would find it incredible if there wasn't more than one person involved in the disposal of Murray's body from the flat. I believe that there were others involved, and I believe that there are others who are aware of maybe not the precise location, but a rough location of where Murray's body would be. And that's all we really need, is a rough location. We've got all sorts of scientific equipment and techniques that would be available for us to search an area, for us to be able to look for disturbance in the ground, for us to be able to look through water to see whether the body was there, and ultimately to give that closure to Tony and Geraldine.
Is it? I'm guessing as well it's unusual for someone who has committed this crime, murder, to keep quiet about the bodies, where the body is as well, isn't it? Is it unusual for them to keep that secret?
It is. It is unusual, but it was always the defence that he wasn't dead,
right,
and therefore they weren't guilty of a murder.
Okay.
So to give up the body now might be difficult for them. But there are other people, I'm sure, who would be aware. They have family and friends. The offenders, there's 3 men being connected, one for the murder and another 2 connected to the disappearance and offences connected with his disappearance. So there are they have family, they have friends. You know,
there's a reward, isn't there? £5,000 reward. This is obviously incredibly important to Murray's family, isn't it?
Yeah, there is a reward. Murray's parents have offered up £5,000 as a reward. But, you know, I would like to think that anybody who came forward did it for the reasons that there is a mum and dad and a fiancé out there who just want to say goodbye to their loved one.
If anyone's got any information, well, how do they get in touch?
Yeah, there's a number of numbers that I can give. There's obviously the 101, the non-emergency police number, which is a new number that the public might be aware of, I hope, by now. The 101 number. There's also Crime Stoppers, which is 0800 555 111.
And that can be these can be anonymous, can't they?
They can be anonymous. Yeah. Crime Stoppers, absolutely anonymous. You don't have to give any details, and even if you do give details, they never come to the police. I'll never know who phoned in.
Okay.
I would never be able to find that out if they went through to Crime Stoppers. Alternatively, they can phone the incident room itself, which is 01707 355959.
Jerome, thank you for coming in. Let's hope that we get some good news this year for the family and that we can kind of bring this to rest.
Yes, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in. DI Jerome Kent from Hertfordshire Police.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
08459 455 555 is the telephone number. We're asking this morning as well, when do you get old? When do you start feeling old? There's an article in the Telegraph, I think it was. Well, I've got all my papers are all over the place. Look. It was the Telegraph, page 9. Life begins at 40, but we feel old by 59. A survey was carried out, and we believe we've reached the old age of precisely 59 years, 2 weeks, and 2 months and 2 weeks. Well, Arthur's in Milton Keynes. Arthur, are you old?
No.
How? What age are you?
89.
Blooming heck, Arthur! You're ancient. The young children listening to this show are calling. You don't feel old.
No.
Not in the slightest.
No. I mean, actually, the last time I saw my doctor was the only medication I'm taking, in fact, is Senecot tablets at night.
Yes.
And so anyway, I get them. And so on one of my, I've sent in a repeat prescription to the doctor. And one time on it, he said, would I go and see Dr. Hush?
Yes.
And so I did.
Dr. Hook?
The reason she wanted to see me was such a long time since she's seen me.
Were you in love with a beautiful woman?
Hey?
Sorry, yes, go on. She went to the doctor to see Dr. Hook, yes?
Yeah, Dr. Hush.
Dr. Hush, right, yes, sorry, yes.
And so she had to see me because it was so long since she'd seen me. She wanted to see if I was all right.
Want to check you were still alive. So you're 89. What do you do that proves you're not old, Arthur? Are you on the Xbox? Do you go night clubbing?
No. Actually, I used to do. In my teens, I cycled, I raced and did long distance cycling.
Yeah.
And then later on, I went into walking. A friend talked me into going up Snowdon, and he encouraged me. And so I've done nearly all the long distance walks in the country.
Why?
The trouble is now.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, I tripped up and landed on my knee and I've got a dodgy knee now.
The knee is the most painful thing.
But anyway, actually, I'm thinking of going to see the doctor, see if anything can be done.
Yeah, go and have a word with the doctor, see if they can do something with your knee.
I'm going to see if anything can be done.
Go and see Dr. Hook.
Yeah, I will.
And see if
see if something can be done.
See if something can be done. So, Arthur, listen, I'm approaching 40 this year. I'm going to be 40 years old. Any tips to make my 40th go with a bang, if you know what I'm saying, eh?
No, well, I mean, always kept active. I tell you, I mean, this is a bit miserable in a way.
Oh, well...
I went, I did the walk round the coast, or what do you start at Minehead and goes all the way round the bottom of the coast.
Yeah.
Cornwall, Devon, around the edge of the coast.
Yeah.
And actually, there was 3 of us did this walk. It lasts... it's about, I think it took over three separate times or something, but anyway, the thing is, I was the oldest of the 3.
Yeah. Oh no, don't! I know where this is going to go. Don't go on. Go on.
I'm afraid now. One of them died several years ago, and then this other one, as I say, I mean, it was all sort of a setup. I used to play bridge with his wife.
Yeah.
And so we got to, and then I went walking with Roy. Anyway.
What?
A few weeks ago, I had a letter from Kathy, his wife.
Oh, Roy's not gone, is he?
Roy had passed away.
Oh!
So, I mean, I was the oldest of them, and I'm the only one still alive, and I'm actually... I say my only trouble is this knee.
Go and see Dr. Hook. Dr. Hook will sort your knee out. I'm sorry to hear about Roy. But thank you very much, Arthur. Arthur, he's 89 years old. He doesn't feel old. He may sound it, but he doesn't feel it. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning.
And that's David Prever. You're right, sir.
Yes, it's the JVS show.
He's off for... You've got like about 6 months' worth of work out of this guy, haven't you?
It's cow herding in Argentina, they say.
Or something.
Something.
He's gone to take back the Malvinas.
Good for him.
Which is a metaphor for something or other.
Well done. How was yesterday's show? Both of our shows.
Very good yesterday. A lot of content, a lot of material. A lot of material.
We were both a little bit content-light yesterday. I barely got away with it. I couldn't listen to yours. I was too nervous.
I played Bohemian Rhapsody 7 times.
Good for you.
That got me through an hour and 40.
And listen, we got paid for it.
You got paid for it.
We got paid for it. What's on the show today? What have you got?
Well, something you've been talking about all morning. Can you still afford to take the train? The timing is fantastic. This government, their timing is wonderful, isn't it?
Happy New Year.
January 2nd, Happy New Year. Extra 4.2% on your rail fares. On the odd occasion that I go into London from Radlett or St Albans, 18 quid plus a £5 to park, plus your tube fares. You're lucky if you not much change out of 30 quid a day.
Yep.
600 quid a month. You've got to be earning around an extra £800-900 a month gross. So not far off, 10 grand a year, thereabouts.
Well, you've done maths and everything.
I've done the maths and everything on this. If you're working 10 grand a year just to get to work.
Incredible, yeah.
It's outrageous. So I'm asking this morning, can you still afford to take the train? Have you made sacrifices to the family budget because of these ridiculous rail fares? The governments say they need to charge more for an improvement in services. I haven't seen an improvement in rail services in 30 years of riding the trains. Have you? They're still the same crowded old buckets that we ride in. So that's what we want to know this morning on the big phone in on 08459 455 555.
That's the phone number.
From 9 a.m.
I shall look forward to listening to it. Are you doing the consumer hour later?
Yeah, we're doing that as well. Yeah,
I love
that. I love that.
I do. I genuinely love it. It's my favourite hour of any radio station at any point, and it's particularly because some of the because I did it for a week and I hated doing it. The actual act of
I love
phone.
it.
You like phoning up these companies?
Yes,
and picking off.
I do it at home anyway. Really?
Really?
I was always complaining about something. Yes.
I see. When I complain at home, though, I've had to stop. My wife says I'm not going to let you make.
I get this because I'm aggressive, apparently, not assertive. Do you get that?
I'm
you have to be
aggressive.
Don't be aggressive.
It turns out that shouting at them
is not good.
Apparently, it's inappropriate.
No, absolutely.
Well, they shouldn't have messed up my phone line.
That's what I say. Yeah.
David, look forward to hearing you later on. David Prever in for Jonathan Vernon-Smith. If you want to email him, you can now. jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. Now, rail campaigners say they are holding protests at stations throughout the UK. No, this is the wrong thing. This is the wrong thing, isn't it? The rail protesters. Are there protesters there today, Jane?
There are not protesters there today. They were handing out Christmas cards, I think, before Christmas.
That was before Christmas. That isn't today at all. This is nonsense. No, the train fares are going up. And, Jane, you have been at Luton train station this morning talking to commuters. What's been happening?
I have. Well, obviously, a lot of people aren't happy about the price rises. The average season ticket has gone up by 4.3% this year. And for the average train ticket, it's 3.9%, which is obviously a bit of an increase. Some of the people I've been speaking to, though, have only been commuting into London for like the last 6 months. They've got a new job. That's great, isn't it?
Congratulations.
So their attitude is it's the price they've got to pay to earn a living and get into work. But the Campaign for Better Transport says that over the last 10 years, increases have rocketed. The average season ticket by £1,300.
Gulp.
Over the last decade. That's a 20% faster than wages. And I spoke to George, who was on his way to catch a train out of Luton. He's been commuting into London for 30 years. I asked him how prices have changed over that time.
It's been going up and up and up, and no respite. The service is not as good as it should be. It's just one of those things. I have to go to work, I have to get into London. It's just a shame that it's going up so much and the service is not getting any better.
Can I ask you how much your season ticket is?
It's over 4,662, something like that.
And how does that compare from last year?
It's gone up by quite about 8%, something like that, at least.
How does that make you feel?
Sad. But one of those things, I've got to pay because I've got to get into work.
That's so much money!
It is, isn't it?
The government says there are reasons for the price rises. When you told people at Luton, how did they react to that?
Yeah, they do say that Transport Minister Norman Baker has been saying that the government's reduced the planned rail fare rise from it was going to be the retail prices index, that's inflation basically, plus 3%. Now it's just the RPI plus 1%. And he said they're engaged in the biggest rail investment programme since the 19th century, and it's fair that the train passenger pays their share. I mean, that argument wasn't actually lost on some of the commuters I spoke to. David, for example, has been travelling into London for the last 6 months. He's quite calm about the rise in his ticket.
Yeah, the increase today's ticket's gone up just £1, so I think I could just about live with that one.
That's not too bad. How does it compare with what you thought it would be when you first came to buy a ticket?
Actually, it's slightly more because I'd heard on the news this morning it was going to be a 5% increase. And actually, it's kind of more than 5% when you work it out, even though it's only £1.
How does that make you feel?
No, I understand. We've got to kind of keep the railways going, haven't we? And there's definitely a need for investment in the railway. So, I can live with this one.
Well, despite that view from David there at Luton train station, the Campaign for Better Transport says the time has come to stop the price rises, and it's launched a petition.
Jane, thank you very much indeed. How does it affect you, the train fares? Have you gone in today with a shock? Did you know it was coming? 08459 455 555. Has it made you question your travel arrangements and your work arrangements? Is there a chance that you might have to move or look for a job that's a little bit nearer? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call and let us know how it's been affecting you.
The BBC in beds, hearts and bucks. This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
I have a thumbs up. Apparently Russell Grant's coming on the show tomorrow. He's coming on the show tomorrow, and I like Russell, and I know Russell. I know Russell to say hello to. He's a big lovey, and he's fantastic. And it's going to be hard for me to argue with Russell tomorrow, because it's kind of tough, isn't it? You know, someone's such a nice bloke, arguing with them. But astrology and stars, and it's all a nonsense, isn't it? All of these, the Express, pages 28 and 29. Laurie Reid. Sorry to pick on her, but she's been doing this all week. She looks like a lovely lady. Laurie looks fantastic, the kind of lady I'd like to go and have tea and cake with. But, really, continuing her guide, Daily Express astrologer Laurie Reid reveals how your health will fare during 2013. Sagittarius. With all the work you'll be doing around your home and garden this year, it looks as though you'll be getting plenty of exercise. The signs that passionate Mars can be boosting your sex drive this year is a positive reinforcement. Are you Sagittarius, November to December? You looking forward to having your sex drive boosted by Mars? Capricorn, you begin this year in buoyant mood and your spirits are at an all-time high. On the downside, though, health could prove a pressure point. Keeping your weight down will be a challenge. It's vague, generalised nonsense that could apply to absolutely anybody. There's nothing specific about it at all. We will carry this on tomorrow, because it is such a bugbear of mine. Have you had your own personal horoscope, star chart done? The one where you go in and say, right, I was born on June the 9th at 7:36 in South London, and this is... and they go, right, well, this is exactly what your stars are. Have you had that done? Has it proved accurate? 08459 455 555. On the subject of trains and train fares going up, Elizabeth in Baldock. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Hi there, morning.
Good morning. Are you happy about these train fares?
Well, I have to admit, I only use them to go into London when I need to access the shops or hospital, okay?
Yes, okay.
But we are First Capital Connect, and we don't appear to be getting any investment at all. Last year I used South West trains, and they were gorgeous. You can plug your phone in, you can plug your computer in. This was Virgin. I mean, you can see the improvement. But out here, between Cambridge and heading out towards King's Lynn or out in that direction, we don't appear to get any of that. And I was just wondering, why?
I hadn't used trains until a couple of years ago. I hadn't used them for years. I always chose to drive everywhere. And then I had a job that was up in Blackpool, unfortunately, and I got the train. And I hadn't been on the train in years. And it was a Virgin train. And it was amazing.
Well, precisely.
There were PowerPoints there, and you could plug things in.
But why aren't we getting some of this? I mean, as it stands at the moment, if I want to go south, and there's 3 or 4 of us going, I can do it in the car, very basic car, for 30 quid in one direction. And that's going 120 miles and 30 quid back.
Trains, listen, I thoroughly believe that trains should be cheaper for a group of 4 people to get the train somewhere than it should be for them to drive. We're being encouraged to use less petrol, get off the roads, get rid of all the congestion. We'll make the trains affordable then.
But I think the trains, the carriages, should be standard across the country, not in some places where this is fantastic, and in others we're getting nothing.
I tell you, the best train in the world, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
The Shinkansen, the bullet train in Japan. I've been on it a few times. It's the most amazing train in the world. It's super fast. It's silent. There are PowerPoints.
Yeah.
And what they do, this is brilliant. This is a basic they should have on all trains, because I hate going backwards on a train. It makes me feel sick, right? So all the seats face forward.
Yeah.
Then when it gets to the end of the line, people come through, clean it, and they can switch the seats around. So they all face forward going the other way.
Yeah, I mean,
Genius.
That would be out of this world. I mean, we've just settled for something like the Virgin train.
Wouldn't we just? Elizabeth in Baldock, thank you very much indeed. The Shinkansen in Japan is amazing. It's the best train in the world. And at the end of the journey, you see all these little sort of maids, they go on, they sweep through it, cleaning everything. And then they switch the seats around. You're never facing backwards. It's obvious, isn't it? But genius.
More from me at 9 o'clock.
OK, you know the drill now, right?
Right, yeah, go on.
OK, it's been... First one was woefully pathetic. The one an hour ago was just really sarcastic and actually a sackable offence. But I'm feeling generous.
Right, OK, thanks.
Right. So, Catherine, did you have a good Christmas and New Year?
Yeah, it was all right, yeah.
Did you miss me?
Oh, I missed you loads.
See, it wasn't hard, was it?
Yeah.
Idiot.
The BBC in beds, hearts and bucks. This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
I expect certain standards and respect from my staff. Oh, hang on. Not allowed to call them my staff anymore. My team. You know, a memo went round. Someone complained anonymously. This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio, here every weekday, 6 till 9 o'clock. Another 28 minutes or thereabouts until David Prever fills in for Jonathan Vernon Smith. Coming up in the last half an hour, Christmas vandals, astrology, and when do you start to feel old? 08459 455. I said 08459 455 555. You got that, love? Good. Now, as from yesterday, something dramatic changed about the whole way financial services are sold. For years, if you were sold a pension, an endowment, or almost any investment arranged by a life insurance company, you'd be paying commission. Well, from this year, the Financial Services Authority has banned commission-based selling from product providers to financial advisors. The aim is to stop policies, such as private pensions and investments, being missold by sales staff motivated by commission payments. So, good news for the consumer? Let's get more from our business reporter, Adam Kirtley. Morning, Adam.
Morning, Ian. I'm glad you didn't call me your business staff.
No, the memo has gone round and I've had my wrist slapped. You're part of the team now. You're my reporter. Why has this been brought in? What's happened?
It's basically the latest attempt by the Financial Services Authority, Ian, to cut the risk of mis-selling. You see, historically, people have gone in to buy a pension or some sort of financial investment, save 50 quid a month into an investment trust or something, and the financial advisor, be they one that's in a bank selling the bank's own products or an independent financial advisor, have often said, yes, this is what I think you should do, this is what I think you should do, here's product A, here's product B, here's product C, and steered you sometimes towards, say, product B, and it's appeared to be free. The advice is given. You've nothing to pay there and then. But, of course, what happened was that his fee, as it were, would come from that investment company in the form of commission, which would come out of the pot you were putting into it. So of your 50 quid a month, a quid or two might have gone in commission to the financial advisor. Now, from yesterday, that's illegal now. They must tell you what the costs are, how you're expected to pay for it, etc., so that it's clear to you that the advice has cost you money and this is how much it's cost.
So they won't be getting the commission out of it now. They will be, but they have to declare the commission.
It depends. They won't be allowed to simply take the commission payments from the product providers. They'll have to point it out. So it might be that they say, look, if you take this product out, that company will pay us, the financial advisor, X £100 or whatever. This is how you're expected to pay. You can either give us a cheque or they will take it out of the... But it'll be transparent, which it never has been before.
Will the consumer end up paying more, though?
Well, that depends. You see, it depends on whether the financial advisor chooses to go down that route. It may be that the financial advisor will say, actually, I'm going to charge you £1,000 for giving you a financial review, but anything that you put into an investment, we will, we won't take commission on, or if they do get paid a commission, that would go back to you or whatever it is. The details will depend on the independent financial advisor or the product you're taking out. What is interesting, though, I think, Ian, is that several of the big banks, for example Lloyds, it will now only give face-to-face financial advice with people with over £100,000 to invest.
Oh, I
so
say.
The little investor like thee and me, we're not worth it anymore. Why? Probably because they can't hide behind that commission anymore. RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland, has got rid of over 600 financial advisors. Again, is it because the little man is no longer worth bothering about because these commissions are going to be illegal? So it's a very tricky one. The danger is, of course, that when you see the cost of something, you're going to go, hang on a minute, I thought this was free. Now I see I'm going to pay 1,200 quid in whatever charge it is. I don't think I'll bother, or I'll do my own research.
Well, this is the thing. We're supposed to be encouraged, aren't we, to be getting pensions and investing in pensions. But if you've got to pay 600 quid, 1,000 quid up front to an advisor, then you probably, maybe you won't, will you?
If it's up front, that's quite difficult because you've got to find that money. It may be that you can still pay it over time, but you now know that 600 quid of that investment is got to go in effectively fees to the financial advisor. And the frightening thought is this. In a Deloitte survey, 87% of customers that bought a savings or investment product using a bank advisor, so not an independent one, but a bank advisor, believed that it was free. That advice was free, and of course it wasn't.
Adam, listen, so Lloyds will be speaking to people who've got over £100,000 to invest, will they?
Oh, yeah, they still think... Well, yeah.
I'll give them a call. I'll give them a call this afternoon. Thank you, Adam Curley. Thank you very much indeed. He's our business reporter. Not business staff, business reporter.
Across beds, hearts and bucks, this is Iain Lee on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Love this item in the Telegraph today. Life begins at 40, we feel old by 59. A survey has been conducted, and it turns out that we think we are old, on average, about 59. It's before then, isn't it? Let's be realistic. Patricia's in Stevenage. Patricia, when did you become old?
I'm not old.
Sorry?
I'm not old.
You have an old voice?
I may be, yes, but I'm not old.
May I ask, of what vintage are you?
Well, let's put it this way. I was a war baby, so sort of late 40s.
Late 40s is when you were born, not your age.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hazard a guess, 66?
Something like that. Yeah, well, I will be in 2 weeks' time anyway.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
But you don't feel old, because 66, let me be honest, and I'm going to be frank, Patricia, don't be offended.
Carry on.
66 is old.
No, it's not.
I'm going to be 40 this year, and that's old.
No. It's only in your brain if you think you're old.
Your old, saggy brain.
Yes. Now, you've got to do one of two things. Yes. Grow old gracefully and forget everything about it.
Yeah.
And only know you're old. You never actually think you're old.
You're younger, right, than Mick Jagger.
Yeah, I know.
Doesn't he look stupid, though? Do you not watch him, Patricia, and think, oh, grow up, for goodness sakes?
I think he's funny, but then we...
I don't think he's meant to be funny.
Well, that's when you get to a certain age, you think that things that are going on are funny.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you can still do the things you did when you were 20, 30 or 40, if you can still do those, then you're not old. It's only when you know you can't do things that you feel old.
Patricia, stay there a second. Mary in Hemel? Mary?
Yes?
Are you anywhere near the phone, Mary?
Yes.
OK. You're old, aren't you?
Yes. I feel that today.
Yeah. How old are you? 78?
75.
75.
76 this year.
76 this year. So when did you start to feel old, Mary?
I suppose about 10 years ago, really.
So, around about 65, 66, which is, Patricia, Mary felt old at your age. What was she doing wrong?
She was giving into it. You never give into it, sweetheart.
Well,
I dance. I go to London. I go out to, do shopping and all sorts of things like that. I'd never give into it, because the minute you give into it, you are old.
I suppose so, but I was just gradually got riddled with arthritis.
Oh, you're not the only one, sweetheart.
Very restricted, unfortunately, but it's not my lifestyle. I'm no interest in going shopping. I'm not a shopping person. and I don't much like going to theatres.
Well, what are you... Well, that's the point. You've got to give...
I like walking my dog.
Oh, dear.
And, of course, I had a husband then, but my husband died in July.
Oh, well...
So, of course, I feel like I'm 150 now.
Oh, no. Never give in, sweetheart. I mean, I have friends who dance, and they're 86. They dance in shows, and they do all the things.
I couldn't do that. I just couldn't.
Well, let me see, even I'm beginning to feel arthritic, but quite honestly, never give in.
Well, I couldn't do that, I'm afraid, not with my arthritis.
Oh, well, you have
I'm going in for surgery for my knee on the 15th.
That's all right.
So that's one thing, a start. But I couldn't do that. Everybody's different, my dear. It's just not my lifestyle to go dancing.
You go and sit in the corner and crochet.
Patricia in Stevenage, meow!
I like knitting.
There we go.
Patricia. I have a friend who knits and crochets and goes to works at the fairs and church fairs and things like that.
Yeah, I'd love to volunteer, but I just for charity shops and things or whatever. But the trouble is, I can't stand for too long, and I just feel I'd be a liability to them.
You wouldn't. Do your own thing. Get up and do your own thing.
That's what I'm doing.
Patricia, we shall let you go because the lines look great. Thank you so much for that. A little bit of an elderly person catfight. Mary, you didn't call in for that, though, did you? You called in for this astrology nonsense.
Yes, it was just some years ago. My sister, she heard of this astrologer, and she only did it by letters. So she wrote to the lady, and she would do it only by her handwriting. She told my sister things that my sister wasn't aware of at all. I can't remember what she thought, told her for the future, but I know that she told her various things from her past that my sister, some of them my sister didn't even know herself. People that were in my sister's past and my mother's past, or our mother's past, and when my sister queried with my mother was absolutely floored.
Hang on a minute,
How
Mary.
did you know that?
She got this all from reading her handwriting?
Yes.
No.
Yes, and it...
Are you sure that her handwriting didn't say, my mum used to have a friend called Susan and that she died with a grey cat and...
She said a thing like, there was a nun watching over my mother, watching over my sister, and her name was Margaret. My sister had never heard of this. My mother never talked about really her background. She had rather an unhappy childhood.
Yes.
So my sister told my mother, and my mother said, how on earth did you know that? And she didn't even know it. But that's what she told her, But, of course, there are a lot of charlatans.
Of course there are charlatans, and they're a fantastic band. But, Mary, astrology, reading your stars in the newspaper, Russell Grant, people like that.
Oh, rubbish.
It's bunkum, isn't it?
Yes, I agree.
How can Uranus have any the planet have any effect on what's happening in your, on your sex life?
Well, I don't know about that, but what I do know is there's such a generalisation. It's like taking millions of people and putting them into one slot, and how can we all be the same?
How can we? We're all individuals. We're all individuals, Mary. Thank you very much indeed. Mary in Hemel there. Doesn't believe in astrology, but she does believe that a woman could predict the future by reading the letters that her sister had written. I love all of this stuff, and and I've said this before, and I've put this challenge out on every radio station I've ever worked on. If there is someone who could communicate with the dead, right, could communicate with the dead members of my family, and could prove it to me and say things that only I would know, do it. Come and do it, and you will convince me, and I'll completely change my tune. If there is someone listening to this show who can communicate with dead people and can talk to members of my family and find out things that only members of my family would know by talking to dead people, 08459 455 555. It will never happen. It will never happen. That was fun, wasn't it? Right, stars, horoscopes, astrology and all that. The people involved with it are normally very lovely people. Russell Grant, who I think may be coming on the show tomorrow, is such a nice man. I've worked with him a couple of times, only a few times, and he's such a charming man. He's tweeted me a few times. He's delightful and lovely. But horoscopes is rubbish. It's rubbish. It's rubbish. And that's what makes it so difficult, because these people are so nice. The caller we had on earlier on, who does horoscopes, is an astrologer, was a really nice bloke. But it's rubbish, isn't it? Really. Planets, stars, Uranus... No, not absolute nonsense. Jane is in Aylesbury. Morning, Jane.
Morning.
Yes, it's nonsense, isn't it? Nonsense.
No way is it nonsense.
Why?
Well, very early last year, beginning of the year, my mum reads horoscopes and she said, oh, this one's interesting for you. Watch your bank account, you're going to be getting a large sum of money.
Oh, yeah.
And this went on for nearly all the week and into the following week. It mentioned about having money coming to me.
Yeah.
No word of a lie. 3 weeks later, I got a cheque for £8,000.
Right.
And I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
And it's like...
But hang on, so what star sign are you? A Cancer?
No, I'm Leo.
Leo. Thought it was going to be my next one. You sound like a Leo. But that means that all of the millions of Leos...
Yes, exactly. I know. But how many people are going to be getting a large sum of money?
Well, apparently 12%, a twelfth of the population are going to be, if we believe that. Because it was telling a twelfth of the population to check their bank accounts because money was going to be coming in.
Yeah.
But how many of those people actually got it?
I don't know, but I must have been the lucky one.
But then it proves... Jane! It proves that it's not astrology then. It's just luck.
No, it's not.
It's coincidence.
I'd never had any idea it was coming.
All right, listen to this. These are your health stars for the year, okay? According to the Express, right?
Yeah.
January powers in with strength and vigour as Mars boosts your energy, but you could find yourself wound up in the first couple of months of the year when rushing could lead to accidents. So beware. Sound about right?
Well, I'm always rushing around anyway.
Yeah.
So.
On the other hand, try not to get too complacent or sedentary. Insist on parking just a little further away and walk those extra few yards.
Well, I'm doing exercises.
Yeah. You're a worrier by nature, aren't you?
Sometimes.
Yeah, but it's your stomach and intestines that suffer. So that's why a good diet of whole foods and natural products is essential.
Yeah, I do suffer with my stomach.
Yeah, of course you do. Mentally, much of the stresses and strains you experience early next year ease away in spring, and in April you can breathe a sigh of relief. Yeah.
Well, we'll have to wait and see on that.
Sounds about right, doesn't it, though? Doesn't it sound right? Even though, Jane, you're Leo and I was reading Virgo. I was reading John Virgo to you. Jane! You've been duped by that whole... You see, they apply to anyone.
Yeah, I know, but to actually be told that you're going to get a significant amount of money, and when you need it...
Yeah, that's the handy thing. Jane, listen, lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much for coming on.
Happy New Year.
And you. Take care. There we go. We'll be speaking to Russell Grant tomorrow, and we'll continue this conversation. Now, when did you start to feel old? A survey by the Department of Work and Pensions says that we think old age starts at 59. Earlier on in the show, Doris in Stevenage gave me a call.
I'm still turning old.
May I ask, what age are you?
I should be 91 in April.
Well, congratulations you for making it this long. Well done. Doris, with all due respect, do you not feel that you turned old about, 50 years ago?
Well, I do, yes. Well, I don't say 50 years ago, but I mean...
45?
12 months ago, I was in hospital in intensive care.
Oh, blimey.
I had a fall and smashed my leg.
Oh, Doris!
But I'm going on now. I've had all my exercises. I do them every morning.
Exercises every morning?
Yes.
I barely do them every year. What have you done this morning? Push-ups, weightlifting?
Well, are you sitting down?
Yes.
One leg forward and the other leg back. Toe and heel.
Yeah.
And then punch your arms. Forward and backwards.
So you're doing karate?
Yeah.
Bloomin' heck. Well, television presenter and voice of the older generation, it says here, Dame Joan Bakewell joins me now. Good morning, Dame Joan.
Good morning to you.
Are you old yet?
I don't feel old, but I'm numerically old.
There is a difference, isn't there?
There's a very great difference, and people age in their own minds at different rates, and indeed in their bodies at different rates. Some people do stay active and fit, and as we know, a lot of people begin to feel the wear and tear on their bodies. They lose hearing perceptions, their memory goes a bit, they need glasses, they find it difficult walking upstairs. These are all symptoms of the body aging, and it's inevitable it will age. It's just a matter of at what point you notice it.
I'm turning 40 this year, Dame Joan, and I'm kind of worried about it, and I am nervous about it. I'm a little bit upset, and I feel old. I make that noise when I get out of the chair. I go, So much so that my 3-year-old son now makes that noise because he hears me doing it. What am I doing wrong, Dame Joan?
You're making a noise. Stop making the noise.
God, it's an effort to get up. That's the thing.
Well, I mean, you perhaps need some more exercise, or the chair's too low, or whatever. The point is, you do feel it if you don't stay exercised. One of the great ways of growing old is to stay. You need to have more exercise. You get older, not less. You really do, because that will keep you alert, and you need to be. To change your way of life as little as possible, and it's then that you notice it when you lie later in bed because you feel too tired. Although, in fact, one of the symptoms of growing old is that you don't need.
You sleep less. You sleep less. This is my great fear. I love sleeping. How am I going to fill the time if I'm awake more?
You'll find lots of interesting things to do. The thing about growing old is you have a lot of time to do the things you never had time for before. Your children have grown up. With a bit of luck, the mortgage is paid off. You've got time, not for things that consume money, but for things that you might enjoy.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? That a lot of people who are growing old, they don't do that, and they kind of just let themselves vegetate almost by watching all that rubbish they put on daytime TV.
Well, there are a lot of cliches about growing old, and if you're not careful, you start to imitate the way people are old in the soaps, you know, and that they stoop or they get crotchety, Meldrew behaviour. You do tend to get a bit full of complaints as you get old. You want to discuss your ailments and complain about the postal service and things like that. It wasn't like this in my day and thing. You forget how many more wonderful things there are to enjoy these days. Old people should most certainly be on the internet and tweeting and laptopping and so on.
The thing that you haven't done, that a lot of old people do, is you haven't, within 30 seconds, gone, well, I'm 86 years old, and a lot of people feel the need to kind of brag about their age, don't they?
Yeah, it's rather sweet, isn't it? It's because it's an achievement, because one of the characteristics of growing old is that your contemporaries die. I mean, you suffer a lot of loss as you get older.
That must be hard, yeah.
That's hard, particularly if it's your partner. I mean, that really is a terrible grief. But the actual need to sort of celebrate being 90 or whatever is certainly strong, because it is an achievement, and you've come a long way. You've lived from a world which was totally different to what young people recognise today. My grandchildren talk about the olden times when I talk about when I was, when there were no mobile phones and there weren't even any televisions. They can hardly imagine a world like that.
Yes. Well, yes, I'm old enough to remember when there were only 3 channels, and people are, excuse me, what? There were only 3 Yeah, and it stopped at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the TV.
That's right.
Then you had to go and do something. Well, you obviously have a very positive attitude, Dame Joan. What can I do to try and get this positive attitude?
It seems to me that you're doing extremely well. You've got a job you enjoy, and which brings you into contact with a lot of people of different attitudes. That's very important. One of the things about growing old is to try and make friends with the younger generation, which is helpful, because then you stay in touch with what's shaping their attitudes to things. I just think stay active. Do all the things you did, but do the things that you prefer.
Dame Joan, as I say, I'm turning 40 this year. I've asked my wife, I hate parties and I hate large groups of people, but I've asked my wife to prepare a surprise party for me. I want to walk into a room and have all of my friends go, surprise! And you guys. Dame Joan, would you like to come to my 40th birthday party?
Yes, I'll be the surprise.
I will send you an invitation. Lovely to talk to you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. There we go. Wasn't that nice? Dame Joan Bakewell there. She's invited. She'll be bursting out of the cake, no doubt. Seriously, I hate birthday parties, but this year, and if it doesn't happen, I'm genuinely going to probably split up with my wife, because I've been banging on about it for about the last 10 months. I want a surprise party. I want to walk into a room with the lights off, and the lights go on, surprise! And it's going to be fancy dress. And I think it's going to be military themed. I think. Not totally convinced on that, but I'm erring towards having a military themed birthday party fancy dress. I just like to dress up as, like Top Gun, or an admiral from a boat, or the captain of the Love Boat. That's what I'd like to dress up as, yes. I'm going to be the captain of the Love Boat at my 40th birthday. How sad does that sound? Well, that was nice having Dame Joan. That was good fun today. I enjoyed that. Well, there we go. I think we got away with it again this morning, didn't we? It's nice having Dame Joan Bakewell. Tomorrow, hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, Russell Grant will be coming on the show. Yes, I know, exciting. To try and defend the nonsense that is astrology. How is that even possible? No. That's it. That's your lot. I'm back tomorrow at 6. That's the voice of David Prever you can hear. He's filling in for Jonathan Verner-Smith. See you tomorrow. Ta-ta.
Getting beds, hearts and bugs talking.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Iain will now make that noise as he gets up off the chair. Happens at a certain age. Good morning. Jonathan is away for another 10 days. Are we sort of back to normal? I think we are.